And now, the Lowe Post.
Welcome to the Lowe Post podcast, live from Los Angeles, where we are thrilled to be joined by former high school basketball scorekeeper and, among many other things, the controlling owner of the Los Angeles Lakers, Jeanie Buss. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm so glad you brought that up because it's like, yeah, I was a scorekeeper. A lot of people say, well, what background did you have in basketball? Way before my dad even bought the Lakers, I was the scorekeeper in high school for our boys basketball team.
You played as well, did you not?
I did. I played on the girls team, but I never made varsity. I was only JV, and I still played because I really liked helping the rookies, like the freshmen.
Give me your scouting report. What kind of player were you?
I was terrible, but I was one of those players that the coach, because I would always show up, he had to play at some point because I worked hard.
Okay.
I was one of
you
those.
Hustled.
I hustled. Well, yeah, as best as I could.
So it's funny when I was thinking about, you're the owner of the Lakers. I could ask you anything.
Right.
This is the most iconic franchise. It's you guys and the Yankees and maybe the Celtics, although you would take issue with that last one, I'm sure.
No, you said that. I got to stop you there.
Okay.
I didn't say that. I respect the Celtics legacy. And, it really, if you look at it, the Lakers are, and what Dr. Jeanie Buss built with the Lakers was really to balance the Celtics dynasty. He bought the Lakers in 1979 and, with the goal of making Los Angeles proud of their NBA team. And he felt that there was an East Coast bias, that the media covered, the Knicks and the 76ers and the Celtics, and the Lakers, the West Coast teams didn't get the respect that they deserved. And so really, what would the Lakers be without the Celtics?
Interesting. Well, you have, 11 championships in Los Angeles now?
Yes.
So I think that has gone well for you. But what I was thinking was, it has been quite a couple of years. Mm-hmm. We are coming up on the 2-year anniversary of, let's call it, the regime change with
mm-hmm.
the Lakers, mm-hmm. with your brother going out and Magic and Rob coming in. You have signed the greatest player alive and maybe the greatest player of all time. Do you feel, but I was going to say, do you feel like you can take a deep breath now, but you still have a lot of work to do? It's like this is not your fully formed team, but how do you feel like you as the owner have sort of like it's some stuff is over now?
I believe that we're in the right direction. I don't believe that we're done. We won't be finished until we're proud. And so I think that we have seen clearly the direction that Magic Johnson wants to go in. And, I think that making the change 2 years ago, was something that needed to happen. I've been very pleased with the progress that has been made with our team. And really, when I talked about making the change 2 years ago, it was about feeling that there was no identity as to what Laker basketball was, and that when you change coaches every 18 months, it's almost impossible to really set a course and communicate to your fans, to the league, who you are as a team. And I think in these 2 years, it's clear to see the steps that we're going towards with the ultimate goal of winning a championship.
What is your relationship like with Jim? Has it been salvaged?
My brother, we weren't necessarily that close, yeah. But there's no hard feelings now. I think that, he is part owner of the team, in terms of the Buss family trust owns the team, and he's part of the Buss family. So I think he is as happy as anybody that, the team is doing well, that LeBron James chose to come join us and, be part of what Magic is building.
Okay, so you're on speaking terms. Everything is copacetic.
Yeah, yes.
Speaking of LeBron, when did you know he was coming? How did you find out? Because Ramona and Ramona Shelburne and Brian Windhorst wrote a big story about sort of LeBron's midnight meeting with Magic and the basketball vision that was discussed there. You are not in that story, which makes me assume you were not at that meeting.
No.
Were you at any meeting with LeBron? And
No.
when did you realize he was coming?
It was, I guess you have to go back in the time machine and look at the timeline, because as soon as it hits 9:01 on that night and you can start talking to free agents, there were free agents already announcing where they were going to sign.
Yeah, pretty quick. And so, the meeting that Irvin had with LeBron, I knew they were going to have a meeting. I didn't know where it was going to be. I didn't know what time it was going to be. And, I have complete confidence in Magic, and I think he's done a great job. And, so I knew he would give his best pitch to all the free agents that they were pursuing, and certainly LeBron being the number one free agent out there in terms of what he brings to a team. And, we were optimistic, but we also knew that LeBron had to take the time that he needed to make his decision. So while we were hoping for a quick decision, we wanted him to have his process. And so when we did find out, it was by text at 5 o'clock the next day, about 5 o'clock, I guess. To you?
Well, I received a text from his agent, and as everybody kind of finding out at the same time, and I was happy that he made a decision sooner than later, but he was somebody we were going to wait for and allow him his space to make the decision, because I think it was important. I think, it's important in our league that people know, the fans know, that the players negotiate the right to be a free agent at some point in their career. And when they do achieve that status, that free agent status, that they should be given the time and respect to make the decision that they haven't had a chance to make during their NBA career, because they're drafted to a certain location, they can be traded, and this is the first time that they get to choose where they want to go, who they want to play with, who they want to play for, and the city that they want to live in. And certainly that is something that we respect at the Lakers, for free agents to do, to make the choice, a personal, very personal choice. And I was very happy and relieved that LeBron decided to join what we are building here in Los Angeles.
What'd you do that night once you got the text?
I just thought about a lot about my dad, and, kind of how he would reflect on it. And he obviously during his lifetime made the Lakers great, and, always instilled the value of having a superstar on the team and what that would bring. And certainly one of the big free agent signings, in the NBA history was when Shaquille O'Neal decided to join the Lakers back in 1996.
We're going to talk about that summer later, because that was a pivotal summer. How much LeBron one-on-one time have you had? Have you gotten a chance to get to know him? Really not, yeah.
Not much, but he just watching him practice, having him part of the organization, he brings so much. I'd forgotten what it was like to have the most relevant player, the most, exciting player, successful player, be on our team. And it brought attention. It's brought,
your games are it's like a circus. There's so much media. It's incredible.
Well, so, some people can look at a circus as a negative, but it's not chaotic like a
no. I guess
circus.
I guess I meant it somewhere in between. Like I don't like to jostle. I'm not a jostler. I don't want to jostle. So give me a nice Clippers game when there's like a third of the media crowd.
Well, I mean that's in terms of what the Lakers are about, we were used to that. We've gotten away from it, and now it's nice. It brings back a lot of good, positive memories.
You mentioned identity and how it's hard to get one when you change the coach X amount of times. Obviously, there has been almost nonstop since you signed LeBron speculation about Luke's job security, Luke Walton's job security. And there was a piece this very week in The Athletic even saying, there will come – this is when, the young guys had lost a bunch of games in a row without LeBron. There will come a time, or there could come a time, and maybe soon, where – Magic said this thing where it's going to take something drastic for Luke to not be the coach for the rest of the season. Is this drastic and blah, blah. And then will there come a time when, we know who the hammer is. The hammer is Jeanie. Jeanie and Luke have a very good relationship. I know you respect Luke as a coach.
Yes.
So speak to that. Is he safe no matter what for the year? What is your view? Or does Magic just have carte blanche? Will you just find out about it when Magic tells you I've made a decision?
Well, I think the reason why the Lakers are doing so well is that we have someone with the basketball vision, and that's Magic Johnson. He, along with Rob Pelinka, are running our basketball program. Now, I can tell you right now that everyone, Magic, Rob, myself, everyone in the organization is behind Luke. There's nothing more important to Irvin, to Magic than, besides his family, than this Laker team. And we are doing everything we can to make sure that Luke is successful in his job. That's our job. And I think he's doing a terrific job. And given the injuries that we've had, it's a challenge. And people forget, he's had, two of our starters taken away from him, and they've won, really important games on the road, proving what is possible even without LeBron, but it's still difficult to lose the games you're supposed to win. When you're at home to a sub 500 team, it's really hard to lose those games. But then you go out on the road and you get the wins over Oklahoma City and these great teams in our conference that are, where we want to be in the top of our conference. I think you can see that there is progress being made even without, two of our starters. I think Luke's done an impressive job.
So is he 100% safe for the season? You're asking the wrong person. That the vision has to come from Magic. But from where I sit, from what I can tell you, every single thing that we're doing, every single person in the organization is here to make Luke successful. It's interesting. The way you just put it is interesting because I re-skimmed some of your book. Laker Girl in preparation for this podcast. I have it right here. It's on Amazon. It's on.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
I think everybody knows it's on Amazon. I got the updated version. I have the updated version. And it's. I had forgotten many things, but among the things I had forgotten were now. Obviously, your father was still alive when you wrote this book.
Yes.
And he's the controlling owner of the team at that time.
Yes.
But the way you remember it, the way you told it, you were 100% out of the loop on lots of stuff.
Yeah.
You're talking about it's the 2009-10 season when you guys won the title, and Phil, you're dating Phil.
Right.
Phil's contract is up, and you're like, I don't have any idea. I'm not gonna get involved. And there's a scene in the book where you learn through the media that Byron Scott has been invited into your dad's suite for a game,
right.
And that there's speculation that maybe he's the successor if Phil doesn't come back and it doesn't work out. And the degree to which you are, I think, mostly voluntarily clued out in the book surprised me upon rereading it again. What is that? Where now you're in a different place in the organization. What is your level of influence on the basketball stuff, I guess? Will you ever be that clued out again? Or I would hard to imagine, right?
No, not as the governor of the team. I'm held accountable for every decision that's made by every Laker employee, including Magic Johnson. I'm held accountable. So I will never be out of the loop that way. And, certainly, it's like it was always, difficult situation when Phil was the coach, dating me, my dad running the team. It was.
Seems fraught.
It was, but I think it also made us very strong. That there was a unity there and an understanding. And I think that, as things ran their course with Phil in Los Angeles, that's something that comes with, especially because I'd been through it once before when he separated from the Lakers, and then he was brought back and, was successful by winning 2 more championships. So, I guess, it's funny because, we had a player, who left as a free agent this past summer. And, I said to somebody, just because he left the Lakers, I'm not going to stop following him on Instagram. Like that, it's like you can't, just make it like we're not humans and that we don't have relationships and we don't have special connections that make us close. And some people might define it as chemistry on a team. And I think when you have those kind of relationships, Magic Johnson and myself have known each other, over most of our lives, and that connection there. So I know at a deeper level that I can trust him, that I believe in him. I know how he is going to react in situations. He knows how I react in situations, and we have that meeting of the mind. I think that makes us very strong. But yes, definitely when there's like these relationships, it gets difficult. And like I said, when this player left to sign with another team, it doesn't mean I don't care about him. And I don't think it's fair to ask me to stop caring about him and, unfollow him on Instagram because I want to see him do well. I care about him as a person, and, our work time is over, but that doesn't mean I don't care about him.
Do you ever see yourself ever vetoing a basketball decision, like a trade or a hiring or a firing? Or is that just, you've always said, I'm not the basketball expert?
I think that what's important to me is to understand the process and to understand why the decision is being made, because I don't have all the information. I am not a basketball expert, but I do expect thought and purpose behind every decision, that nothing is done in a reactionary way, an impulsive way. And that is something that, as an organization, that is part of our culture, is doing things in a thoughtful, purposeful way.
Listeners, if you know anything about me, it's that I like anything that can save me time. And a few years ago, buying tickets to sporting events or concerts or Broadway shows or comedy shows, it was just getting too complicated on the secondary market. Did I forget to check that site? What about all those sites? Am I getting a good deal? What if it's not the best deal? All of a sudden, 2 hours have gone by. SeatGeek is the thing that changed all that. It searches multiple ticket sites and puts everything all in one place for you. So you only have to go to one spot. You don't have to click here, there, everywhere. It grades every ticket. Very user-friendly system. Green dots for good deals, red dots for less good deals. Every purchase is fully guaranteed, so you can shop for tickets on SeatGeek with confidence. Just very user-friendly, very easy. 2 minutes in, out. Don't have to check anywhere else. SeatGeek should be your go-to ticket source for everything. All those things I said, like basketball season, full swing, college basketball, anything you want. Best of all, my listeners get $10 off their first SeatGeek purchase. All you have to do, download the SeatGeek app, enter promo code LOWE, L-O-W-E, my last name, the name of this podcast, promo code LOWE. Bam, $10 off your first SeatGeek purchase. SeatGeek, life's an event, and we have the tickets. We can't name names, because the last thing I need to do is get another tampering fine laid upon the Lakers.
Thank you.
But as you watch this team now without LeBron, obviously, which is like without LeBron is the biggest asterisk that can exist, but hover around 500, you're out of the playoffs right now.
Right.
It was well publicized that, LeBron signs, and immediately, including by me, the stories come out, LeBron's not in a rush to get star X in here with him. And you had perhaps opportunities before LeBron signed to trade for star X or something like that. And now that this team is where it is, there is some hindsight, people saying, you know, I wonder if the Lakers wish they had been more aggressive instead of waiting to save their cap space, right? That's the reasoning. You always want to say, what's the reasoning? Right. The reasoning is, well, you know, we're going to keep why would we trade away young assets when we can have cap space and use it? But as you see this team, again, we're not going to name names, but is there any regret from that standpoint?
I don't think so, because I see progress that, the team is 25-23 right now, and, the Western Conference is difficult, and I would never think that as, being over 500, you would still not be in the playoffs. It was, I think that Magic has been patient. I think that Rob Pelinka has done amazing things in terms of giving our roster flexibility and not taking a shortcut to try to just, make the playoffs only to lose in the first round. That they see the picture and that they're taking those steps. And, you have to be patient because things can't change overnight. Although in 2 years, I find it very remarkable where we are. I think they've exceeded my expectations in turning the program around, and they're not going to take a shortcut to try to get a quick fix just to, make the playoffs and give up, or shortchange any of our assets. And, that's what I want to see. I think our fan base is, they're smart. They love basketball. They understand today's NBA, and they see what Magic's building, and they don't want to take a shortcut either. And, so like I said, I'm satisfied where we are. And, at the start of the season, of course my expectations were to be in the playoffs, but given the injuries, sure, you have to see that, that compromises you, that those are things that are out of our control. And, certainly the team has kept us in there, that we're not,
no, you're right there.
Right. We're not buried at the bottom, and that there's light, and hopefully we'll start getting these players back sooner than later.
Somebody asked me last night, what's the ceiling? What's the best case scenario for the Lakers this year? Like, what's the furthest they can get? And I thought, they could get to the conference finals. I mean, like, why is that impossible? I mean, they're sure they're 9th or 10th or whatever, but they're missing the best guy. Mm-hmm. And I don't think as wonderful of a season as Denver has had and Oklahoma City has had, I don't think you go in with LeBron James, even with the young supporting cast, and are like, well, we're frightened of that team, or we're, right. What did you think of the burbling is a word I like, the burbling narrative that maybe star players don't want to play with LeBron?
I heard that about Kobe Bryant too, and it makes me laugh, because if somebody doesn't want to play with the best player playing in the NBA right now, then I don't want them on the team.
What happened to LeVar Ball?
LeVar.
Did you guys banish LeVar Ball?
No. I've seen him a couple times at games.
Did you tell him to be quiet?
He's got other kids. He's got to divide his time, and he's always very nice when I see him, and I just think he has his hands full with different businesses and his kids and his wife, and
That's a disappointing answer. I really wanted the answer to be, we banished LeVar Ball.
Never.
And made him sign an oath. LeBron made him sign an oath of silence.
No.
I don't miss LeVar, but that's just my personal opinion. So everything's all is well in Lakerland, or mostly all is well.
How do you define burbling?
I don't know, like it's like bubbling up. It's bubbling up. I don't know why I said burbling. Like bubbling up.
Okay.
A narrative that is bubbling up. I thought that was interesting that it so many players anonymously anyway, and a couple publicly verbalized it. I am not worried about you guys finding another
Thank
guy.
you. Thank
Los
you.
Angeles it's a pretty nice place, Los Angeles.
Yes.
I had a personal highlight at the Laker game last night.
What happened?
I was talking to a Warriors official on the sideline before the game when a voice behind me said, boys, and waved his hand as if to move us out of the way.
Yeah.
And it was Jack Nicholson. He had just sat down in his seat, and we were in the way of, I think it was only Draymond warming up. And I love Draymond, but I didn't think Draymond's warm-ups were some sort of spectacle, but he wanted to watch them. And I was like, well, I'm going to get out of his way immediately. It's Jack Nicholson. I mean, like, that's the Laker guy, the Laker fan. It was quite, but it was just boys. It was great. It was a good moment.
And there's a reason why we have him sitting next to the visitors bench.
Yeah.
Because, it's Jack, and it's like, you don't know if he's got like the axe, hiding behind him from his character in The Shining. And people had mentioned to me they hadn't seen Jack at many games in the last couple seasons. I'm like, Jack's a basketball fan, and we didn't give him a lot to cheer about in the, seasons before, but he was there opening night. He was there last night. And I was really, impressed with the celebrity showing last night. Certainly the Golden State Warriors bring out their own fan base. They have a lot of passionate fans, as they should, as the defending champions. And they've set a bar, for all the rest of the teams in the league. And we'd all like to be the ones to catch up and exceed it at some point. But, I saw Leonardo DiCaprio.
He was there last night?
Yeah, I had a nice conversation with him, Adam Sandler, Dave Chappelle.
I did not see any of these people.
Halsey.
I would not be able to identify Halsey.
She's great. I didn't realize what a big Laker fan she was.
Okay.
And, it was a lot of fun last night, even though the game wasn't inspiring a lot of energy. It's in itself. Certainly there was some great moments by the Golden State Warriors, and our team, put up a good fight in the second half, trying to cut some of that lead, but it didn't happen for us. But it was a lot of fun, and there was, with the team, having some good games the prior week, beating Oklahoma City at home, and then, taking Houston to overtime, and then not getting that win. I think people were expecting a little bit of a closer game, but we didn't come out with the energy that we needed.
I just came to my mind because you mentioned, you never expected to be 2 games over 500 and not in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Where are you on the 1 to 16? Scrap the conferences and just pick the 16 best teams?
It's very interesting. I can't really find the argument against it. What's really
travel, right? That's
the travel, right? And you got to keep in mind, in the playoffs, you never play back-to-back games. So even with the travel, the increased travel, I think that the way the league has added a week to the season, if we can continue to expand our calendar, then the travel doesn't become so much of an issue to determine that 1 through 16.
I think it's a fascinating issue. I was very pro 1 to 16. Mm-hmm. I've gotten some pushback on travel, which I actually am sympathetic to it. I mean, if you talk to the Heat or the Blazers and you say, if we have to get 3 rounds in a row of back and forth, that's hard.
It's hard.
I'm not one of these, they get to travel on private jets. It's like your body's going 3 hours here, 3 hours there. The league's main contention is, we have that cuts our last 2 weeks of the season. We have 2 separate races for the 8th seed instead of 1 for the 16th seed. There are more, they think there are more teams alive late in the season the way it is now.
Okay, that's interesting.
Which is not persuasive to me. What's persuasive to me is I just am tired of really bad Eastern Conference teams getting in the playoffs and really good Western Conference teams. Doesn't matter which conference. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think those are the fun things to debate. And
you're the first one I've ever had other than Adam that's in a position to actually do something.
Well, yes, every team would vote. I would imagine that we would get the union either through collective bargaining or just in conversations to understand all the implications that would bring. What I will not debate is cutting the season. You can't take back 82 games.
82 is done.
It just then that now you're going to start changing the record books. Now you can't really compare, I don't know. It just
is it that more than money?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, like to me, it's about the legacy. It's like I don't know. It just like some things you just can't change. And so 82 games. I mean, when my family got involved with the Lakers back in '79, there was only 22 teams, 24 teams, and so people were like, "Oh, expansion is bad," and we have to cut the amount of games. I just won't debate the cutting the amount of games. I just won't.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's do some fun roundtable stuff. We've exhausted present day Lakers. Let's just have them get healthy and see how good they are.
Okay, good.
What is your scariest or favorite or most memorable David Stern moment?
Oh, David Stern. Okay. Well, it has to be in context. Like for me, David Stern did make me cry. And, but it was, right after 9/11, our season started shortly afterwards. And, everybody was still trying to process what this devastating event had meant to our country. And, David was not, we were receiving our rings, in that opening night. And David called me to tell me that he felt because of what with 9/11, he wanted to be at New York's opening night game just because the league is based in New York, the league offices, and he wanted to be there, that he was sending Russ Granick to hand out the rings. And there was just something that got emotional for me because life was, unpredictable. And, David Stern was our leader and he wasn't going to be there to give the team their rings. And I guess it just kind of hurt my feelings and kind of just reflected the uncertainty of the time. But, I understood. I still understand the decision now, but, I was a little sensitive, but that's just me. And anyway, David, really was, a visionary in terms of where he took the NBA. When my dad bought the Lakers, the NBA finals were tape delayed. Nobody really cared. And, it had a small audience. And David saw things differently and he led the NBA into, really, being a force in the sports landscape. And Adam Silver, who was his deputy commissioner, has taken it even to the next step. And I think the NBA in, what our entertainment value, our relatability to our players, and our relationship with the players makes us really, I believe, the best league in the country.
I want pound the table, David Stern. I want browbeat you until you are afraid, David Stern. That's the David Stern I want to hear about.
But that's, it's, David, everything David did was for a purpose. If he had to be strong and he had to pound the table, it was only for the greater good. And so I never saw him as just being, a tyrant and somebody that was just trying to cause problems. Everything that he was doing, including the veto of the Chris Paul trade, which he did not as commissioner of the league, but as the person in charge of the franchise, which was well in his rights to do so. And I understood it. It was difficult to accept at the time.
As you say, what do you remember about that? Like, how in the loop are you that this is happening? And that's, that is a crazy situation.
I wasn't. And it's like you have to put it in context that trade was made at a time when we were ratifying a new collective bargaining agreement because we had been in a lockout.
I remember it well.
And so every governor, and at that time my dad was very sick and couldn't make the trip. So I filled in as alternate governor at this meeting where we had to ratify the collective bargaining agreement. And so really no trade could have taken place except that trade because my dad was not there and the Pelicans were being run by,
the league.
Were they still the Hornets then?
Yes.
Yes. So, they were being run by the league. So David wasn't available to approve that trade. And so that's why it just kind of, I understood it in context, but I also understand why it was frustrating for the fans.
I just can't imagine what that day was like to live. That's like you go all the ups and downs in like 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, again, like in my context, my dad was ill and he had surgery the day before. So it was, I was more concerned about that than anything else.
The first time you met Magic Johnson, he threatened that he was going to leave for the Pistons. That's in your book. Did you believe he was? I thought when I reread that, I was like, well, he must have been joking. He wasn't joking.
He was not joking.
You went to your father very upset.
Yes. I was like, I was.
They had just drafted Magic.
It was the first time I'd ever met him, and he was 19. I was 17. Bill Sharman had, back in those days, you weren't in New York, getting drafted and going up on stage. It was like they called you on the phone and said, you've been drafted. So we flew him out to Los Angeles. Bill Sharman picked him up at the airport, brought him over to my dad's house. And, my dad said, I got some things to do upstairs. When they get here, bring them in the living room and make small talk until I come downstairs. So that's what I did. And, when I opened the door, that was the first time I'd ever met Magic, and that smile that he has just, bowled me over. I'd watched the NCAA tournament and I'd seen him, but I'd never met him. And we sat down in the living room and he started saying, I'm really happy to be drafted by the Lakers, but in 3 years, I'm going to go and, I want to play for my hometown team, which is the Pistons. And I was like, okay, wait, that's not what my dad told me was going to happen. So I excused myself and ran upstairs and I said, you're not going to believe what Magic just said. And my dad didn't miss a beat. And he said, Jeanie, the first time he puts on a Laker uniform and steps out on the floor at the Forum, he's never going to leave. And he never did.
It's funny that there's a Blake Griffin joke in here somewhere about threatening to go to Los Angeles to Detroit and Magic being the only player ever to do that. But I won't make that one because Detroit's struggling. I feel bad. Let's do a little where were you? What do you remember? What do you remember about Magic Johnson's skyhook in 1987 against the Celtics in Boston? Where were you and what do you remember?
Just any time we played the Celtics, it was always, he pulled out that junior skyhook, earlier, that was like kind of one of his shots.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's the one I always remember. That was a landmark shot. What do you remember about, this is a broader time period, the summer of 1996, when you draft Kobe and sign Shaq in the same summer? That is the all-time NBA summer. What do you remember about that? Any flashbulb stuff?
I just remember how, important it was. My dad wanted to make sure that the Lakers had, a star player to anchor the team around. And there was a lot of moves that had to be made in order to open up the opportunity to sign someone like Shaquille O'Neal. And, could have been something that didn't work out. But when it did, it was a big celebration. Now, Kobe, we didn't know Kobe was going to be, I mean, maybe Jerry West knew Kobe was going to be what Kobe ended up being. But, we got this kid who nobody'd really seen on a national level because
and you traded your starting center to get him.
Right. And so, it was, I got to meet Kobe the day they brought him in for the press conference at the Forum, and my dad was on vacation, and they asked me to have lunch with them. And so here again, just like meeting Magic as a 17-year-old, I meet Kobe Bryant at the same age. And we had lunch, and I'll never forget because the waiter, Kobe's, asked him, do you speak Spanish? And the waiter said, yes, I do. And Kobe said, I'm going to learn Spanish. And I thought that was such an odd thing to say at such a young age. Like, what, you just got drafted by the Lakers and you want to learn Spanish. That was pretty impressive of a thing. And of course, Kobe conducts interviews in Spanish, flawless, Italian. Kobe. He is a very, very special talent.
In your book, you talk about how you don't think the Shaq Kobe thing and the eventual trade of Shaq was about animosity between them.
It wasn't.
You think it's about Shaq wanting more money than was being offered by you guys at the time. Do you still, even now in the years, so you still think that was the single biggest driving factor?
Yeah, it absolutely was. I mean, if he would have taken half the money that he was asking for, he would never have left. But it was a negotiation, and he wasn't going to sign for what Dr. Buss was willing to pay him, and so it became clear that it was best to make a move and trade him. And that was, a difficult decision to make. And, but as soon as he was traded, again, I talk about like the relationships in life that you have with people who are special. And Shaq is a friend to this day. And, it was, as soon as he left and went on to win a championship, so things were good for him as well. And he got the money he wanted. And, it was about building that bridge back to him. And so, now you get to the point where he's retired and he asks to have his jersey retired. And normally we do not, our rule of thumb, and every organization is different, is that not until a player goes into the Hall of Fame do we retire their jersey. Of course, there's exceptions, and Shaq wanted his jersey retired while my dad was still alive because he wanted to, let him know what it meant to him to be a Laker and to win those championships and to be part of this Laker family. So when my dad was, failing in health, Shaq wanted to go visit him and make sure that there was no hard feelings between them, and that, he could say, I understand why you traded me, but, what this team meant to me is never going to change.
It's a pushback on the idea that Kobe went to you guys and said, it's him or me.
No, no one individual is ever going to run a team like that. That is not what is healthy for any kind of environment.
How worried were you I think it's 2007 when Kobe, I think straight up asked to be traded?
Well, I think that's part of leverage when you're a free agent.
Sure.
It's like you have to that's when you have the most ability to influence the direction of a team. And clearly Kobe wanted to win championships. And, that's well within his.
Were you scared?
Of course. You don't want to lose somebody like Kobe, but I think that, I think that pressure is important to make real, to let, an organization know, let the fans know that that's what you're serious about. And, it's well within his right. It doesn't always make it easy, but that's the nature of our business. And if you can't accept that, then you're in the wrong business.
Is there concern at the Board of Governors level? And if there is there anything to do about it? About players the year before their contract is expiring already trying to get out of situations ahead of their free agency to try and get to a place where they want to go so they can re-sign, all that stuff. Because the timetable with some players, again, I can name them, you can't, has been moved up to my contract's not even expiring yet. I'm a year before that, and I'm going to start agitating. I personally, I won't say what I personally think, but I sense.
I want to hear what you personally think.
No, people want to hear what you.
People who listen to your podcast want to hear what you think.
No, they don't. They want to hear from you. But so because this is an issue that it seems like almost no matter how you guys tweak the rules, whether it's the designated player extension or this and that, there's always, it's like whack-a-mole. Like something else always happens.
Yep, and those are all issues that are brought to the Board of Governors meetings. And, we're not really supposed to talk about what happens at the Board of Governors meetings.
No, they make a waiver for the Lowe Post. So you can talk about the whole thing.
There you go. No, but that's, and those are all real issues and everything. That's what I love about our commissioner is that he looks at everything and how does it affect the game? How does it affect our fans? How does it affect the business? How does it affect the brand? And, it's like he looks at everything and you gotta continue to evolve and make things so that we can all operate. And truly it's about every team having an opportunity to compete for a championship and making things fair so that every team can be competitive and keep the players that they've drafted and developed.
Do you sense concern, though, or do you sense like this is just the way things work?
I think that, the players negotiate, earn the right to be free agents at some point in their career. Now, how they choose to leverage that, I'm not going to comment on, but it's the players have earned the right to be free agents.
It's very well known that Linda Rambis is one of your best friends in the whole world, if not your best friend. Yeah. Where were you and what do you remember about the Kevin McHale, Kurt Rambis clothesline in 1984?
Kurt is now part of the organization and he I think that really embodies who Kurt is and his who he is as a person, as a player, that when the clothesline happened, and I suggest any of you young people who've never seen it, just, go to YouTube.
I mean, are you at the game? Where are you sitting at
I was
this
there.
time in your life?
I was there. People flew out of their seats. Everybody wanted to go fight Kevin McHale after that. It was really one of those dangerous plays, and thank goodness that Kurt got right back up, because it could have been a very serious injury. But, it shows the resilience of Kurt. He got right back up. He was going to defend himself against what was wrong, in terms of you don't do that to another player. His teammates rallied behind him. The fans cared about it. And Kurt is one of those team players that understands the chemistry that you need to develop so that players feel that, it was Kurt that got clothesline, but it was all of them that got clothesline because, each player is part of one unit. And I think that, Kurt has that understanding of what it means to be a true teammate and stand up for your guys.
Have you reconciled with Nick Van Exel after he tried to kick you off the team bus?
I haven't seen Nick to have that conversation, but that is a true story.
Did he think do you think he didn't know who you were?
He probably didn't. And at that time I wasn't, in the, basketball.
Tell the story.
It's, I was traveling on the road and, you went on the team plane. And now when you when you get off the plane, you got to, get to the hotel. And so we have buses waiting on the tarmac. And so I got on a bus and I went to sit in a seat, and Nick Van Exel said, "You can't sit there." And I didn't know, and everybody who's part of a team in the traveling party, everybody's kind of got their own seat on the bus, even though you're in a different city. Everybody kind of sits, the first third of the bus, the second third, the last third. And, I didn't know the protocols, and I don't know if he thought I was not associated with the team or whoever I was.
Yeah, you were. Spoiler alert, you were.
I was, but I probably was sitting in somebody's designated seat.
By the way, you deserve credit. Do you know why you deserve credit?
Why?
For something that's in the news right now, you deserve credit.
Okay.
In your book, Laker Girl, forward by Phil Jackson, book by Jeanie Buss, you advocate, now this is 2010, for the idea of an all-star draft. Mm-hmm. You haven't gotten credit for that.
I don't think I invented it. I think it's something that people have talked about. The NHL does it, and certainly I think it's fun. It was more, I wanted to see the coaches.
Yeah, you said coaches.
As opposed to captains, but it actually makes more sense that it's the team captains because it really reflects what the fans want. And that's what the All-Star game is for. It's for the fans because you bring all the best players, their favorites, all together for one big game, and it's a big celebration of all things NBA.
Maybe you didn't invent the idea. For some reason, I'm reading a paperback book. I feel like it makes the book older than it is, but you are a powerful voice. You put it in the ether. They're finally going to televise. Not finally, year 2, they're going to televise it.
I think it's going to be great.
I don't think they're doing it on the day. What are they doing it on the trade deadline day? Right?
Oh wow! Really?
I think they're overcrowding it. They need to just make it a whole. Think about these reality shows that milk 90 minutes out of one thing.
Right.
Like you're picking one woman or one person to kick off the island, and it's like a 90-minute show. You can make 90 minutes out of this easy. I had this underlined from when I had first read your book. It can't possibly be true.
What?
But it's in your book.
Okay.
That Neil Diamond, you know where I'm going with this. As part of his agreement to perform at the Forum,
yes,
said nobody was allowed to look him in the eyes or address him unless he addressed them.
Well,
that can't be real.
Well, back in the day at the Forum, all our offices were located at the Forum. So when a big concert came in, they would do sound check during work hours. And so a lot of us would sneak out and watch, whoever do their sound check. And Neil Diamond was very specific that if one person was in the arena when he was doing sound check, then the show was off. And it was like serious, tight security.
But I think in the book it says you weren't allowed to address him.
Oh yeah. No, there was a memo that went to all employees. You were not allowed to talk. If you happened to run into Mr. Diamond anywhere in the building, outside the building, you were not to talk to him. You were not to look at him.
I can never look at Neil Diamond the same way ever again. This ruined him for me.
No, are you kidding me? That makes him even more of a superstar.
Can you imagine going through life? I want one day to live one day with the balls to tell people, do not look me in the eye. Sir, do not look me in the eye. You will speak only when I speak to you, and you will call me Mr. Lowe. I wouldn't even say that to my daughter.
Well, you know what? It's like if you were around the music industry and that story's nothing compared to like some of the things that go on with touring shows and the different demands that they make on arenas because they can.
They can.
That's true. And and Mr. Diamond, if he's as big a superstar as anybody in my book.
I was told to ask you this for your birthday. Someone told me ask her about going out with the Wolf Pack for her birthday, and I thought, well, that's a fun nickname for her group of friends. No, it's actual wolves. I don't understand this, so I really don't have any idea what I'm getting into.
Okay, well, for my birthday, there's a place in, it's about 60 miles from here in Palmdale, and it's a rescue for wolves because the wolves population, really dwindled. And I have to say that when you really start thinking about protecting the wolves, everything about wolves is so negative. The big bad wolf, the Wolf of Wall Street, Little Red Riding Hood, like being,
They're trying to make wolves great again.
Yes, like they've been maligned. They've had bad publicity.
You are the first person I have ever heard to take up the mantle for wolves.
I'm doing it because these animals are so special. So what you do is you go to the rescue, and it's this, couple who have a house, and all the wolves are there in a kennel, different kennels. And what's really unusual is that they have been able to rescue these wolves, and they've formed a pack, which most wolf packs, they're related. They're a family tree. Right. And so to have like a hodgepodge group of wolves joined together is highly unusual.
Like the Breakfast Club of wolves.
Right. But isn't that what a team is all about? Is like hodgepodge, like, okay, what are we going to bond over? How are we going to figure out how to fit together? And so, what they do is they give you a presentation in the house. I started crying, as they were talking about each wolf and the situations that they came from, they were rescued from, and that we were going to meet the wolves. And they explained to you how to approach the wolf and to let the wolf know you and smell you and get used to you, so that after, this time that we spend getting to know each wolf in the pack, then we're invited to go on a hike with them, because we've been welcomed into the pack
with
these wolves.
But are there supervisors?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And so now we're with the wolves. And so, there was a group of, the Kurt Rambis, Linda Rambis, my friend Stacy. So there was a group of us. And at one point I was lagging behind because it was an ascension on this hike, and I'm not in great shape as I should be, but, so one of the wolves came up behind me, didn't even know it was behind me, came up and nudged my leg. Like, you got to keep moving. Like, I was part of the pack. Like, they were taking care of me because I was the last, in the group. And so what they teach you is that, people think of the alpha in terms of a wolf as always being the biggest, strongest one. But the alpha is actually the person that takes care of everything, kind of the manager, and usually buddies up with the beta, which is usually the muscle of the group. So to watch these animals have their roles and understand their roles and work together in a group was really inspiring. And I can't, it was such a wonderful experience. And then the people who run that cook you dinner, and you sit around a bonfire and you get to howl with the wolves.
Wow.
And it's really a powerful experience. It's very reasonable priced, and I would suggest it to anybody. I mean, you have to, make a drive and go out there and make a commitment to be there. But the idea that you get to be at one with these beautiful animals really was special.
I don't trust wild animals. I don't trust them. I would be scared.
And you know what? And they would know that, and they wouldn't trust you because they would be afraid that you would turn on them.
It's not meant to be for me and the wolves.
You got to get there, Zach. You gotta grow. You gotta grow.
Can we hear a joke from your stand-up comedy routine?
Okay, that's the other thing that I could talk about that I did on my bucket list, which was to do stand-up comedy. I took a class where they teach you actually how to write your own jokes, which you, as a comedian, you have to have your own material. But we all have our own material because comedy is just stories, and it's understanding the funny parts and hitting the right notes and talking that way. So I had to do stand up, and I have, a bit about, being Barbie's mom, because that's what people kind of compare me to. Well, it used to be Barbie, but now at my age, it's Barbie's mom in this town. And
does Barbie have a mom?
Well, that's the whole joke. Because it is, but no, that's good, because it's like nobody's ever thought about Barbie's mom, and I can't tell you how many times Barbie and Ken got married in my childhood. I never invited mom. And I think there's this generation of women who've like kind of lost their connection with their mother because Barbie didn't have a mom.
They never made a mom for Barbie?
No. But, and people go, well, why would you want to be involved in comedy, Jeanie? And I think that comedy is such a valuable tool in helping us to connect to other people, to, kind of process things that are bothering us or maybe that we're sad about, and using a sense of humor to kind of bring us together. And there's nothing more bonding than sharing a laugh with somebody. And I think that kind of goes along hand in hand with what's important to us in the league, which is about health and well-being, mental wellness, and using our humor to kind of process things that are difficult and maybe diffuse conflict, and, broaching subjects that might be very sensitive to some people. And I think comedy is one of those things that is, very powerful. And when I look at stand-up comedians, I admire them so much because they are vulnerable on stage, and that is a very true place to be. And if we can all kind of find that part of ourselves, then maybe we can, make the world a better place.
Did you do a set like that the public could go see?
Yeah, I did a set, and I plan to continue my comedy career, but I can't during the season. Yeah. So in the off season, yes, and I'll post it on my social media.
Last question.
Okay.
Will you guys ever sell the Lakers? There's no price. Is there a price?
There's no reason for us to ever sell the Lakers.
Mechanically, I don't even know how it works. No matter how many times I read it, I don't understand how all the kids can do this and that and the other thing. It's
basically that the asset is held in a trust, which is the Lakers stock, and I'm the person in charge of overseeing that. The running of the asset. And then there's beneficiaries, which are all my siblings. And so we are the beneficiaries of this.
But do you all have to agree or something? Isn't there something like that?
Ultimately, because the NBA only recognizes one controlling owner, that I am recognized as that controlling owner. But the way I like to run things is by consensus and building relationships in my family and making sure that everybody is happy with how things are going. And I think that, unless you know otherwise, and you could probably tell me, I think they're all pretty satisfied with the direction that the team is going. The relationships that we have with our broadcast partner, with our arena, with the things that are important in the economics of running a professional team. I think we're doing we're in a really good place. I wouldn't even
know what number to put on it if you actually did it. But you've said many times that this has been a family business, and It meant a lot to your dad to keep it the family business. Mm-hmm. It's very unique. It's
special.
Yeah. All right, Jeanie Buss, you got to go. Thank you for giving us a little bit of your time here, and a lot of your time actually, in dealing with all my dumb questions. Let's, fingers crossed everybody gets healthy and we get some exciting basketball in Los Angeles down the stretch here.
Yes, that's what I would like. Thank you for allowing me to talk not only about Lakers, which I love, but also the other subjects like the Wolves and
I didn't think the Wolves were going to be so profound.
It's very moving experience, and I'm gonna keep working on you because you got to try it.
Wolves are scary. That's what I just can't.
They're not. They're really beautiful.
That I can get. That I can see. All right, go do your thing, Jeanie. Thank you very much, and we'll see you around the block.